Welcome to the Spin Wiz Comic Show. Whoa. From Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us for exclusive interviews with the publishers bringing you the newest titles in indie comics, webcomics, movies, and more.
No way.
And now, here's your host, Jeff Palumbo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. This is my second time in a week. I know we took a little bit of a break because some Spin Wiz stuff has been going on, which is going to be awesome that I can't even talk about yet, but it's been taking up almost 99.9% of my time after my day job. So, but we're back. We had an interview on Wednesday, and now it is Sunday, the 16th. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's probably closer to the 22nd. If I'm good, it doesn't matter. This gentleman's Kickstarter's up for another 20 days anyway. If you're on YouTube, you still got another 12 days to hit it, and you should. So, I'm not going to talk too much about this fine gentleman. He's been doing this for quite some time. He's an old school nerd like myself. It's really nice to hang out with I'm not going to say old because that's wrong because he looks younger than I am. But I will definitely say it's nice to have the experienced people to hang out with. Not to say there's anything wrong with the youngins. They're great too, but it's a different vibe. It's a different thing. We kind of grew up around the same time, liking the same stuff. So it's really great to have him here. I'm going to bring him in because y'all didn't come here to see me. You came to see him. So, ladies and gentlemen, Terry Mayo is in the house. Terry, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jeff?
Good, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. This is cool. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Now, you're West Coast, right?
I am. I'm down in San Diego, so I'm way down south.
So you have wonderful weather at all points in time.
I do. I mean, it's been overcast for the last 2 days, so people are swearing it's the apocalypse. But still, it's been beautiful. Still been in the 60s, so
that's
can't
awesome.
complain.
Yeah, in North Carolina here, we get you start to burn right around April and right through September, October. Just like 90. There's no spring here. It's just right from a weird winter into a crazy ass heat summer. And I think, what do you top out at, like 85?
Yeah, most days. I mean, we have our outliers, but for the most part, it's shorts year round. So I mean, it's good. It's good. You can't complain about the weather.
No. Am I gonna? Hopefully, I'll get the chance to see you at San Diego Comic-Con this year if they're gonna run it.
If they do, yeah, right. I mean, I think that they're still down for a impromptu December or Thanksgiving. I can't remember what it was, but we'll see.
That's what I'm hearing. And who doesn't want to travel out there in November or December?
Right.
Seriously.
What's the holdback with that, right?
That's what I'm saying. Well, listen, I do appreciate you taking some time. I know you have a Kickstarter right now. Now, you are not a rookie in this space. This is not your first rodeo, my friend.
No, it is not my first rodeo. With Kickstarter, it is technically my second rodeo, but I've been around comics for a minute or two.
Yeah, that's for sure. Do you want to give a brief background, just so people that don't know you? A lot of people that I have on the show really are starters. Like they've had a couple. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I have quite a few who have been in it for quite some time. But the great part about our industry is the fact that there's all these newcomers that have these amazing ideas and they're super creative and they're super hungry. But we also have a chunk, especially of publishers that are hanging out with me from a distribution perspective, that are our age, that have been doing it for quite some time. And I even consider myself a rookie in the space. I've only been in it for about 8 years, and I still consider myself relatively new. But Do you want to give everybody just a brief background of some of the projects you've been working on, and then we'll get right into Buddy?
Sure. I mean, I started off. I'm a nurse. I'm a dad of many children, and I started off doing screenwriting in LA in the late '90s, and then transitioned over to comic books when I figured out I wasn't going to be Quentin Tarantino Part 2. So. Which was fine because that scene just did not fit my lifestyle, and it was okay. It was okay. Sold a few things, nothing ever got made, but it was it just wasn't for me. But comic books, I've always loved comic books since I could read. Even before I could read, I think I was jamming through some old school comics. Came in the 2000s, did some web comics at the early days of web comics. putting some stuff out through DeviantArt with some different artists. My first publishing was in the 2000s. Came in with a few small indie companies. I guess my biggest breakthrough was The Wicked Righteous with Alterna back in the 2015-ish, 2017-ish, can't remember. Then Disposable Legends with T-Pub and a couple others. Then right now working on a project called Buddy, and that's the one that we have on Kickstarter with my man Dave Swartz.
Heck yeah, let's talk about Buddy. Are you self-publishing this one?
I am. So this one is independent. So Dave and I started working on Buddy about 2 years ago, and we were wrapping up the first issue right around the time that the pandemic started.
Yikes.
And we had signed on, we had a publisher. We went ahead and we pulled out from the publishing and we stopped, with everything with the pandemic and me being a nurse. And then I was sick at the time, and the whole year, for just like everybody, just like a lot of people, it was rough. And it just wasn't going to be anything that I could dedicate any time to. So as things started getting better, the world started opening up, people started getting vaccinated, and things, kind of came on the upswing of things. I figured it was time to bring some brightness in the world, and that's what Buddy is. It's just a light. Well, I mean, it's a horror comedy, but it's I feel like it's compared to the other stuff I've written, it's a lighthearted tromp. So
that's for sure. So give us the gist of what Buddy is all about, because I think when people see it, it looks hilarious to me. Is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Like I said, most of the other stuff I've done, and I've done some political stuff over the last few years, and everything just kind of it weighs on you. And then The Wicked Righteous was about a pandemic. It was about an apocalypse, and that's the last thing I wanted to jump in right now. But my personality is more this, jokey Jokerson, dad joke central over here. So it matches who I am closer. It's an easier fit for me.
Yeah.
It comes more natural. But Buddy is, the tagline for it is it's Milo and Otis meets the Exorcist. So, it's got that yin and yang. It's got the light side, dark side to it. And I really wanted a book that every single one of my kids could read if they wanted to read it. There are some dark materials in it, but I wouldn't say it's any darker than what you would find like a Nightmare Before Christmas or Paranorman or Frankenweenie or whatever callback you want.
Right. That's awesome. And is the lead character a dog?
The lead character is a pug named Buddy. Yeah. And it's I had a pug a couple years back named Buddy, and he was just an insufferable jackass of a dog. And he was, but you couldn't help but love him because he just was so goofy. So Buddy is a main character in this book, and the house cat named Charlie was based on a cat that hated me, and so you put those two together, and they are, they're the protagonist of the book.
That's awesome. I love when writers put everything together and they're like, you know what? You're an ass. You're going into a book. Like,
you made the list, sir.
Be like, you need a story written about you, right. And my wife's going to be upset if I do it just straight out. So we're going to add a little bit to it.
Exactly.
That is awesome. Exactly. There is definitely some people in my comic that I either didn't get along with or were just great people that I wanted to throw in from a personality perspective, or I really disliked them, and I'm like, oh, you are getting trounced in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of writers do that. They'll meet somebody that triggers something in them, either good or bad or in between, and if that makes an impression, then, you've made that character sheet. So.
Yeah, for sure. So how long have you been working on Buddy? Because you said it started before the pandemic.
Right. So we actually started on the pages before, but the concept of Buddy, I've always been into horror movies, and I'm a big zombie film, like Night of the Living Dead and The Exorcist and stuff like that. And like I said, we had Buddy, and one day we were getting ready to drive to Texas, and he was down at the bottom of the stairs looking up, barking at like nothing. There was nothing up there. But imagination starts running, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if he saw a ghost. I wonder if he saw, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as I'm driving from San Diego to Dallas, Texas, there's like that dead space in between where there's like no sound, the radio doesn't work, and my mind just starts running, and I'm like, that's where the walnut of the story for Buddy came from, was this just goofy pug and this hateful house cat that saved their humans from evil.
That's so awesome. What an amazing idea. And I love the fact that this, and I tell a lot of people, the reason our industry, and I consider small press or indie its own industry, like great that Marvel and DC are there. Congratulations. They've been around for 50 plus years. So I don't even really put them in, because all the stuff that the guys like you are writing are stories that have never been written, never been told, completely different spins on things. Like, do you write it because of that same reason, or is it just something stick in your head and be like, I dig it, I never heard it, like I'm gonna write it and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's one of those things of, and it was my brother-in-law, Joel. Shout out to Joel.
Shout out to Joel. What's up,
Shout
Joel?
out to Joel, who put it in my head once, early on. It was before the Resident Evil movie came out, right? Mm-hmm. And I was telling him about the video game. I was like, man, I just wish there was a movie about this. He was like, well, instead of just wishing it, why don't you just make it? Why don't you just write it? So I started writing it, and then it came out, and it wasn't me who wrote it, but but it came out. So it just put that thing in my head of like, what, if I want to see something, then let's see something, let's make something.
Yeah.
At least see how it goes. So
well, you're also ultra talented, so you have a following already. People know who you are. Do you think that because this isn't as, let's just generalize it and say, dark as your past content, do you think they're going to be like, oh, I can show my kid this finally? Or are they going to be like, nah, I like the darker stuff?
I don't know. I that's honestly a conversation I had with my wife on when I was doing the Kickstarter, because the first Kickstarter I did was for the Wicked Righteous trade, and that was about 3 years ago. And it was, I was already with the publisher, and it was more for the fan base, right? We weren't doing it for the money part. It was more the fan base and getting more eyes on this product. But there was already a built-in audience, like you said. Mm-hmm. So when I'm coming back 3 years later, no longer with Alterna, and I'm doing a whole nother genre of story, that was a serious question that I had. I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to want to even back this. We'll see. But people seem drawn to Buddy, and I'll give it all to Buddy, because he's, I feel like the tagline. More people have come in and said, Milo and Otis meets the Exorcist. You had me at that. So, and how they have the analytics on backer kit or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, there's like, out of the 220 some odd people that have backed so far, I want to say that almost 70% are new, like, backers.
That's awesome.
So it's been awesome.
Yeah, 226 backers, 20 days to go. You have already broken your goal of 5,000 and hit $6,152.
Yeah.
Congratulations already. I mean, and that has to take some pressure off, but at the same time, if you're anything like, well, my Kickstarter sucked 8 years ago, so I can't even say that I did it right. But most people I see, it's pedal to the metal for a month, man.
Yeah.
So you got stretch goals and everything coming up.
I do, yeah. So the first stretch goal, actually, I hit yesterday. So Buddy is a 30-page book, but yesterday we added another 6 pages. So it's a 36-page issue 1. So, 30 pages of initial story, and then 6 pages of like an origin story.
I love it. So we have, you are writing it. Mm-hmm. Dave Schwartz is doing the art and colors.
Correct.
And then Zen, you picked up Zen for the letters. Yeah.
I've known Zen for a minute, and actually met him at a store signing at SoCal Comics here in San Diego a while back. And we just kind of kept in touch and always wanted to work on something together. So he signed on before the pandemic, and then when we put it on the shelf about 2 months ago, when I was toying around with the idea of bringing Buddy back, just out of the blue, asked him, I was like, hey, I understand if life happens and you can't jump back in, but I would really love to get us all back together on Buddy. And he jumped in. So he's doing the letters, he's doing the editing, which is awesome because he's an awesome editor. So I'm happy about the team we have.
That's awesome. And Charles Fiddler coming in, animals either see ghosts or pretend to mess with our heads. So he agrees with you. And Charles, dude's a legend on his own right. Coming in strong. Thank you for coming in, Charles. So yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be great. It looks awesome. Like I can't wait to read it. It looks that good. And
thank you.
Again, in my position, I see tons of comics, just hundreds. and I'll look at the cover, then I'll look at the inside pages, and it might trigger me. And I try to read what I can just to know what's inbound on our site. But this, I was just like, damn, like I saw the cover, saw the tag, saw the inside when you posted the Kickstarter, and I'm like, I've got to read this. Like it, and I think with my thing right now is I'm a big like zombie old school horror guy. Mm-hmm. I've always been like, I mean, the original Frankenstein and all of that type of really old school original horror. And then what kind of came up through it? Like I kind of got bored with the 80s slasher. Like, don't get me wrong, Nightmare on Elm Street and all that stuff were fun. But they're just gory, right? At that point, you're just laughing through most of it because it's just so over the top. Right. Except for Halloween. That was some scary stuff back in the day. Whew! But anyway, besides that, I think I am, because of the way that the structure of, not society, but all the bad stuff that's been going on lately, I find it hard to want to jump into those type of movies knowing that stuff's already jacked up.
Yeah.
And I want to take one step back. Like, it was even hard for me to watch The Boys because it was just, and don't get me wrong, I thought it was, once I got myself through it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I watched it. But it's just so over the top dark and like bloody and gory for the sake of being so, that I was kind of like, I need something, like I can't do it anymore. And I don't know if that's going to come. I assume that when things start to hopefully normalize, I will get back into my jacked up self where I can really enjoy that stuff. But even my own comic is a psychological thriller, and the guys, there's murders going on all over the place, and I actually have a hard time writing it to get my mind into that. Is this something, like you said, it's a little less dark? Do you feel that same way, especially being in the medical field from your day job? Could you go back to writing something that is a little bit darker, that you're kind of used to and known for? Or at least for now, are you just like, listen, I had to do something that was a little more fun, because your day job has to be stressful.
Yeah.
Or at least it was.
No, I mean, and it still is, don't get me wrong. And Buddy really was a palate cleanser, not just for me, but I felt like and you bring up The Boys, but there are so many projects like that where it's like, the last thing I want to see is anything in that vein right now, because you go through the last year of what everyone's gone through. And then just like you said, my day job, and I've done, oh my gosh, in the last year, I've done CPR more times than I have the 10 years prior to that.
Gosh.
And it's just not something I want to come home and then start getting in that mindset when I'm not at work. So I really did need that palate cleanser to be like, okay, this is going to be fun. I want it to be fun. And I've kind of kept that theme through Buddy, which I'm pushing hard right now, but then also the next two projects that are coming up for me are kind of both in that fun kind of
nice
lane. So it's kind of a shift for me this year. And we'll see. I mean, I still, my heart is always going to be with horror, like that true scary horror. Not so much like you said, like the slasher, and where you're rooting for Jason to take out all these obnoxious teens.
Yes.
But real horror is what I meant to.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it too, because that's the way I am. I think the scariest thing is fear. And if you can tap into and it can be the simplest of things. It doesn't need to be over the top. It just has to be what a person, like, it hits a string just right. And people are like, damn. Like, I, to this day, cannot watch The Exorcist. Like, it is, I grew up Roman Catholic, and they struck the fear of God in us very early. But I remember watching The Exorcist, and I got probably halfway through as a kid. First of all, it hit me as a kid, like a young kid. So that was the first problem. But the second one is just, for whatever reason, it struck a chord. And to this day, I can't watch it. Same thing, and you're going to laugh at this, The Dark Crystal.
Oh, really?
Everybody is just like, what the? That's a kid's movie, man. And I'm like, the one scene where the one, whatever the hell that thing was getting plucked, like they were basically just
right
plucking him to, not to death, but to then torture him or throw him in jail, left such a scar on me. Whatever it was, from a very fear perspective, being a 6-year-old kid or a 7-year-old kid watching this, I was just like, F this, man, I'm out. Like, but that, I think that is also what generated, when I write, I try to not tap into the brutality. I try to tap into, if this was you, what would you be feeling?
Right.
But I love the fact that you're taking almost a step to the side and being like, oh, this is jacked up, but we're at least going to put a little spin on it that everybody can enjoy.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. Now, was it difficult to do so? Like, was it, that's a different writing style. Was it hard to transition from a darker writing style where you probably your mind had to go to certain places and instead be like, well, I want to go here. Nope. And try to transition it to being funny? Or did it just kind of pop out? You're like, I'm actually loving this.
No, I mean, it felt a little smoother to me, honestly. And it's, in a different way, in a different way, you know, I mean, in my spare hours, which I don't know what that really is, but
Spare.
I also, I'm a dungeon master for a group of Dungeons and Dragons that we do on Mainframe Comic Con. So we put that on YouTube. But I'm a dungeon master, and one of the things I preach, because I hate it when people are like, well, this is what my character would do. I'm just playing how my character would be, and I try to turn it around to being like, well, this is going to be what happens, but we need to figure out why your character is going to do that or why they're not going to do that. Don't let your character define you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, let's work with it. Don't put yourself in a box, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the approach I take with writing, but specifically on this one, because I knew that I wanted it to be more of an all-ages book. And with all the kids I have, I know that you can't really get past anything past kids.
Yeah, you got a couple.
You can't pull punches and you can't try to trick them. So put it out there, put it at face value, and then as long as you're not going over the top with things, then I think it works out. But yeah, no, it wasn't a big stretch for me. It was just it was a different playground, really.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I think you're doing it awesome because you know, because of my background, my professional background, even before SpinWiz came up. Obviously, I've been a marketing and branding professional for, I don't know, 12 years now, I guess, 12, 13 years, 14 years, something like that. And they come to me and they're like, well, what do you think about the comic? I'm like, it's great, but it's niche. Like it's or niche if you so prefer, depending on which way you want to say it. I think what you're doing is going to increase your followership so much more. Not to say that the other books are bad; they were fantastic. But you are creating content for a wider audience, and wider audiences, there's more money or potential for more money.
Right.
That obviously again, like you said, you're at 226 backers. 70% are brand new.
Yeah.
So, and it is very difficult. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a good, mature rating comic, and really, like, you know, doing some really great things or some really just dark topics. I think some of those books are the best, but I think for people that have a gold mine with what they're trying to do, if they allow it so that most people can read it, you find that most people can pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science. It's common sense. But I think my hope for you is that this like compounds your success. And you're just like, now I have all these new people and all this great stuff and even more success in the future. I mean, eventually you're not going to want to be on the show anymore. You can be like, Jeff, no, you have to be pulling at least, 300 people watching or I can't spend the time.
No, that's not my style. That's not my style. I would talk at a coffee shop. I mean, I enjoy talking to people who enjoy the same stuff I do. It doesn't matter if there's any eyes on me or not. It just, because I enjoy this, and that's what I enjoyed about conventions, and that's what I enjoy about doing these YouTube things, just because, I mean, you get to talk about things that you're passionate about, because in my day job or even in my own home, I'm the weird nerd guy in my own home. So, so
welcome to the party.
Right? So being able to find your own kindred spirits just floating around in the nether, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to talk about stuff you love.
It really is. I miss conventions, and just, again, it's, yes, during the day am I hustling? 100%. I'm on my feet for 12 hours. But at 7 o'clock when we shut down, there's nothing better than going out with guys like yourself when we can just be, and we know that we're not at home with people who are just like, are you talking again? About like your new comic or this thing or whatever. And you're just like, no, these guys we get each other. And it's very cool. We all have, most of us, I would say 99% of us have day jobs and families.
Oh yeah.
Some of the younger guys don't, but they're building their families. Like they're just starting. And I think it's great that, and the fact that most people are actually really cool. Like, yeah, you get a jackass every now and then, but most people, because they're working full time and this is all you want to do is see your friends succeed, that is what drives most of us to become just friends after the hours and hook you up. That's why I do this. I don't make any money off these. I like hanging out with cool people that know exactly what I want, and I want more people to see it. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, Terry and his content are not affiliated with Spinwiz Comics in any way. We are just friends. I've liked Terry's stuff for quite some time, and I invited him to be on the show, and he was gracious enough to pop on. I'm just sharing stuff that I think is great, and I love doing it. So
that is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, anytime. Anytime. So listen, I know we're running out of time here. Anything else you want to bring up before? I already put your Twitter in there. MAYOTL, right? Is all of your social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So you did the branding correctly right. Instead of trying to switch up everything, every single thing. But so everybody go there. Again, if you're on YouTube watching, the links are all below. Just click on them. And my biggest thing is, because COVID kind of threw most people for a curveball, I understand sometimes times are tough. If you can't back him up on his Kickstarter, tell somebody about it. Tell your friends how cool it is. Go check it out. Share it. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram. If you like it, just give him a heads up. Be like, dude, this is great. I'm telling my friends about it. Because I think that is just as powerful, especially from an influencer perspective, of you telling your friends about it. Even if you can't chuck a couple bucks in, we get it. All of us get it. Trust me. We all get it. Yeah, so anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, man, just to reiterate what you said, that it takes a village for in this indie comic game, and it's the word of mouth that goes a long way. It really, really does. So if you like Buddy, if you know somebody that might like Buddy, then yeah, tell them about Buddy. Why not?
That's what I'm saying. And now you're in stretch goals, so you get all other sorts of cool stuff as well.
Yeah, so we unlocked today when we hit 225 backers. Kelly Williams, who's doing a book over at TKO right now, he did one of the variant covers.
Oh, nice
for Buddy, and that's the original art that he did, he gave to the Kickstarter, and it's an add-on. So if you want a one of a kind piece of art that Kelly Williams did, it's in the add-ons. All you got to do is just go put it, one and done.
That is awesome. I actually want to hire Dave to do a like Halloween logo for Spinwiz, like just a one-off that I can put in a print and then promote it, and obviously push back to him. I mean, I wouldn't. It's not really for me, and then put it on my wall. Like I have people do logos for me. Like they take my logo and I say, just have fun with it, do whatever you want, and I pay them for it, and then I promote them and I hang it on my wall. But I only go to people who A, have dope art, and B, that I actually like. Like that's my rules. I have to have met you. I have to have actually like you and like your work. So maybe if I ever actually meet Dave at one of these shows coming up, I'll ask him, and if he has time, maybe he'll do one for me.
I bet he would, man.
It'd be awesome. Well, listen, man, thanks for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially from work. Well, today you didn't. Hopefully you didn't work today.
No, I didn't work today.
But you got a lot of family stuff going on, which is awesome. And hang on the line with me just for a minute so I can say goodbye to everybody, and I'll be right back to you.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, am I not right? Terry Mayo? Rockstar, right? I mean, go check out his stuff. Again, I don't have any of his older content. yet. Now, I am probably talking to some of his, like Wicked Righteous and Disposable Legends. Hopefully I'll be able to grab those through some way in the near future, especially with the stuff we have coming up on the site. But until then, just go Google them. If you're on YouTube, just look below, and I have links to somewhere that you're going to be able to actually check them out and find them. So again, thanks to Terry for coming on the show. It was awesome. Go back him up. If you can't, go check out his other stuff if it's around. If you at least think it's cool, share it, like it, tell your friends. That's the way things go, especially in our industry of small press and indie comics and creators, because this is not a full-time job. This is more of a labor of love. But making a little bit of cash to be able to do the next one is a very big deal, and we'd like that. So y'all have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I think I'll be back on Wednesday. I'm not sure. I got to check the calendar. We have a lot of great guests coming up. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Enjoy your week. Tomorrow is Monday, so I'm glad that I could be the last great thing you see before you start work again tomorrow morning. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great one. Good night.